Bill Gates has been doing this.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to dust the entire United Kingdom and block sunlight out there to help climate change. The only problem is when you block out the sun, you kill crops, which leads to famine. Now, we used to know about this in the 1980s because it was part of our whole fear of nuclear war thing, and we called it nuclear
winter. Yeah.
So I started reading Bill Gates's stuff here and some of the other expert reveals. Anytime they say expert reveals or experts agree, you know you're being fed propaganda.
First of all,
standard propaganda line.
Consensus.
Yep.
It's not spelled right, I know, but
you never spell anything
that's
right.
What it is. Consensus.
No. Consensus.
The consensus believes in this, so you must follow along.
Right.
Fuck off.
Yep.
I'll drink the hemlock and be right.
Yeah. I started looking at that and going back over the old nuclear winter stuff and realizing what I think is going on. In Bolshevik Russia, they were able to put all the farmers in prison camps. They took their land away from them and then just put people from the cities on the farms.
Who didn't know how to do it.
Who didn't know how to farm.
Where have we seen that happen
Where have we seen that before?
Would that be Zimbabwe?
So millions starved to death.
Yeah.
Millions starved to death. Well, they can't do that now. They're trying to. That's why all of the family farms are taken down. That's why farming has become so hard and so expensive that only the big industrial farming companies can really afford to farm now.
Yeah.
That's why that's happening.
Well, all of the regulations, all of that put in place to choke out the little guy. Because if you can grow your own food and you can take care of yourself, what do you have in abundance? Freedom.
Yep.
And they hate freedom.
Yes.
And I talked about that on my intro speech.
Yep. And with this atmospheric control nonsense that Bill Gates is trying to, it's becoming increasingly clear that we will fail to meet our climate goals. We are already 1.26 degrees warmer in 2022 and on track to blow through 1.56 degrees in the mid-2030s. People, that's, for those of you who can't convert very quickly, about 2.6 degrees Fahrenheit. So it was 66 degrees. Now it's 68 degrees. Oh, noes.
What the thing is they pull out the ice samples that go back thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years. The CO2 levels and the temperatures, they fluctuate. There's always a
We
climate
studied
change.
climate epochs.
Yeah.
In school, when we were kids, they used to teach climate epochs.
And a lot of this might have something to do with the fact that the sun goes through its own cycles.
Yeah. I would bank on that. We cover approximately 3.7% of the planet, human beings.
Correct.
If the Earth wanted to get rid of us, dinosaurs, hello, the Earth could just go, you guys are boring. We'd be gone. There'd be nothing we could do about it.
We would get flicked off of this like a booger.
Spinning globe of mud.
That's right. This ball of filth spinning through space. We would get flicked off like a dried booger.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Yeah. And if you think that hasn't happened before, it has. This whole planet has been existing for somewhere between 4.5 to 5.1 billion years. Somewhere in that. If you think they know the exact creation date of the Earth, they're out of their fucking mind and somebody's lying to you.
Yep. At any rate,
yeah,
they want to use nuclear winter to kill the crops to starve the people. That's what I believe right now. That is my current working theory.
Well,
is that they're going to use a form of nuclear winter to cause crop devastation in as many Western countries as possible to kill off as many people as possible.
Correct. As per the Georgia Guidestones.
Yes. They want 500 million.
We have covered that. We've covered that quite a few times.
Which brings us to population decline will change the world for the better. A future with fewer people offers increased opportunity and a healthier environment. China's population has fallen. Yeah.
Now, do I think that is actually true? Once you get there, maybe. Once you get to your 1 billion or 500 million people. But what is the world going to be like when you go from 8 billion people to 1 billion people? That is a whole lot of death and fucking chaos that is going to take place because most people, and I'm one of them, are not going to go gently into that good night. I'm sorry.
So here's the thing, and we covered this on another show too, with the whole birth rate myth.
Yeah.
The population of the United States has exploded 180 million people since 1946. We had 146 million people at the end of World War II.
Mm-hmm.
We fought a whole fucking war with 146 million people and kicked everybody's ass. This population is surplus. So the idea that the population is decreasing is really no big deal because we only need, and we've demonstrated this repeatedly, no more than 146 million. That's what we fought World War II with, which is the biggest war the planet has ever seen.
But the thing is that 140 million people need to be hyper productive because that's how they were back then.
Yes, we were.
People today are not that built like that anymore because of the education and all the other shit.
Hard times produce strong men. Strong men produce good times. Good times produce weak men.
Correct.
Weak men produce hard times.
And that's where we are right now. We're in the fourth turning.
Yes. That's what's going on. That's why we don't have those people. We'll have them again. We just need to right the ship and hang a few people.
Listen, we need to, I shouldn't say we need to. I would like to see Darwin go into overdrive because there's a lot of individuals that, in my opinion, there's no net benefit to having them around.
No, there's a ton of people. Mm-hmm. Shakespeare, freaking 16th century, first kill the lawyers. Yep. Wait, the Bible, lawyers are bad. Wait, Aristotle, the lawyers are a pain in the ass and should be killed. Okay.
I can't argue with that.
All the way back 2,400 years, lawyers are a pain in the ass.
Yes, they are.
But if you look at the timeline behind Pop, you can see what we're talking about here. This has been a slow march through all of the institutions for the last 110 years. There's 110 years there.
Slow creep, authoritarian rule.
Yep. It's starting right with the schools. Once you capture the schools and change the children's minds, you can start to change the other institutions, the military, the government, the bureaucracies, the cities, and how they're operated and all of that. Then you can add more and more laws and make something more and more.
Here's another one.
Authoritarian. What's that?
Mainstream media has been preaching since basically 2012 hardcore propaganda at us.
Yes.
And I would say before that as well, repetition.
Yeah.
They just show it in your face on mainstream media over and over on the commercials. You know, it's getting to the point where you can't even turn on a show and have a commercial come on without an interracial family.
Yes.
Or the father being
that's what I'm talking about.
Or the father some kind of idiot and the woman has to step up and fix everything.
Yep.
If you guys want to have some fun, look up the Smith-Mundt Act.
We put that.
That's the one we were talking about. That's exactly what we were talking about. Smith-Mundt Act.
I put it the Mundt Act. I didn't know it was the Smith-Mundt Act.
I think we need to call it the Munging Act.
The Mundt Act of 2012. It got repealed by Obama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the timeline of basically how all of this happened. What we are dealing with now is the ideologically captured. And it is basically Stockholm Syndrome on steroids.
Or
where your captive starts to empathize with their captors.
So what you're trying to say, it is an Obama nation.
That's gay. That's gay.
He's the one that overturned the Smith-Mundt Act.
I know.
And that was done for a nefarious purpose so they could legally push their bullshit on you, which they have in spades.
That was gay enough, though, that I think we should have Mike Obama drag her nutsack across your forehead.
You are fined 1 homo suspicion point for violation of the Man Code Morality Statute.
Jimmy,
oh my!
Never change, Jimmy.
I couldn't take it anymore. There's just too much Big Mike and too much Dragon of Nuts that points have been assessed.
That's fair. That's fair. We earned that one. So the
Oh my God, that was funny.
it's Stockholm Syndrome on an industrial scale. I started noticing it some years back. I never tried to articulate it until just recently, after an encounter with one of my sisters who was completely ideologically captured, and a couple of other people. Basically, okay, objectively speaking, this is a purple dick straw. Okay? Somebody who is ideologically captured and has been told repeatedly that this is actually a pink vagina straw and not a purple dick straw will not budge no matter what. You can hand this object to them.
I hit you in the face.
You can hand this object to them and they can look at it themselves and they will deny that it is what it is because they're so ideologically captured that they cannot deviate from their dogma.
Correct.
And it at this point is sadly close to, I would say, 40% of the country
Yeah.
is that ideologically
Well, they're
captured.
useful idiots. I mean, why do you think I don't even deal with my D&D friends or associates that I used to call friends back in the day?
Yeah.
Because they're fucking fried.
Yep.
They literally bought hook, line, and sinker the propaganda, and they believe it now, and I cannot be around them.
The whole idea of getting rid of the population, this has been going around for a while. This article is from 2024, but we first started seeing this stuff with the Georgia Guidestones showed up in what, the 80s? 90s? I don't remember.
No, I don't remember. I think they started
Jimmy,
in
can
the
you
late
pull that real
70s.
fast? Georgia Guidestones?
Yeah.
On it.
This whole thing with reducing the population is being mainstreamed, and it's all coming from the WEF out of Davos.
Yeah.
And it's the same exact people that funded Lev Bronstein and the whole Bolshevik movement and all of that. It's the same people again. And it's there's the Rothschilds are involved. And I know everybody gets twisted about it. So conspiracy theory. They admit it. They talk about it. They brag about it. They write papers about it.
Yeah.
What do you need to see that this is actually going on? How ideologically captured are you? And I realize that I'm repeating that phrase, but I want you to see that there is a turbo version of Stockholm Syndrome going on in all Western nations right now, where we are absolutely convinced that the enemy who is trying to kill us is going to give us the best blowjob we've ever had.
Yeah. Also, in my opinion, I think we are stuck in the mouse utopia experiment here in the West.
Do you know how that ended? I'm asking the audience. Do you know how that ended? I know you know how that ended.
Yeah.
The mice proceeded to become homosexual and eat each other.
And you had almost
That's odd.
And you had, what was it, a 98% population collapse inside the mouse utopia.
Yeah, 98% population. Now, here's the thing. With a population collapses, it's not that big of a deal historically. If you can get rid of the vector that is causing the population collapse. We know this from the Justinian plague of the 6th century.
And what about
Which
Black
was
Death?
that was a Black Death. Okay, first the Justinian plague of the 6th century wiped out 1/3 of the Roman Empire.
Yep.
And then the Black Death wiped out 1/4 of Europe's
At
population.
some places, it was half.
In some places, it was half. 1/4 is those are the generalized numbers. In
Yeah.
some places, it was 100%.
Yeah.
In
Wow.
some villages or regions, it was
Everybody.
100%. Everybody died,
Yeah, everyone went up and
but the populations recovered because the vector moved on. In this case, Black Death
or they
can't
just
really
adapted to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
human beings are remarkably adaptable creatures. We'll adapt to all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
But a population collapse is not the big, huge threat that they're making it out to be. What they're trying to do, though, is mentally prepare you for the fact that they're going to kill you.
Well,
They have stated this as their goal.
you're right.
Population reduction,
But let's just go through.
nuclear winter.
Let's just go through the steps.
Yeah.
All right. So JFK got his hair cut, and they got away with it.
Yes.
All right. They basically got Vietnam going.
Yep.
and they got away with that.
Yep.
All right. The technology.
That's after two
changed.
world wars.
Yeah, after 2 worlds. And the technology changed, which basically, in my opinion, once we got the tech going, this is speeding up.
Yes, because now they've got the ability to really make a surveillance state.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that in effect in extreme during the lockdowns.
It's the
people
difference
ratting each
between
other out.
Analog and digital.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're in the digital age. They can literally track your phone,
Yep.
contact your phone company, go back up to a decade and know where you were in real time for up to 10 years.
Yes. Now,
All right. Then you have
hang on one second. Hang on one second. Just for some context, when I was with No Such Agency and when I was doing the signals intelligence stuff, I am the very last of the analog generation. I am the last. Our class was the last of the analogs.
Okay.
Everybody who came after us, we started to see guys who were into computer networks, were into digital this, digital that. And that transition happened literally in the space of 2 years.
Yeah.
I watched the signals intelligence world go from analog to digital in 2 years. It happened right in front of me.
Yeah.
It was that fast.
But this is what I'm getting at, though. Then you had 9/11 take place. All right. They literally brought down 3 buildings at free fall speed in front of the entire world. They made footage disappear. They lied. They had reports about stuff that took place before it actually happened, meaning it was scripted in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
And that was mainstream media.
Yep.
And I would say our government was behind that.
I know
They got away with that.
And the Patriot Act was put in place 28 days later.
Correct. And then you have the Patriot Act going all along until 2020. And they use fear and confusion and ignorance to put in place
and
mandates, lockdown mandates. And they lied to us there. 2 weeks to flatten the curve, which turned into many years.
I have that tracked. I kept records of all of that.
And then we're now seeing the horror that's taken place from the vax and all of the side effects and horror stories that are taking place with that. So this is just going to, unless we can find out who's behind this and put them to the sword, this is going to get worse.
Yes.
Because they keep fucking getting away with it.
Yeah. Now, this is just my opinion. Here is why I think it has to be America that throws the first punch in that particular scenario.
Yep.
We, I think, are the only nation left that's involved in all of this stuff that has anything like any of the last stock of alpha males.
Rednecks.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think there are any real men left in Europe.
Well, the
United Kingdom.
If there was, they've been shipped off to war and are now dead.
That's what the wars were for.
Yeah.
The wars were culling tools because the alpha personality warrior types are drawn to it. And you get to go into battle. We're hardwired for it. In the back of our head is a little Mongolian on a horse with a sword going, we want to do that shit.
I was one of them.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
I loved it. The adrenaline of sitting in a freaking helicopter door doing 130 miles an hour over a bunch of trees. You're like, this is so cool.
Yeah, I've done that.
You know,
I've been strapped in the little bird.
Yeah.
2 guys per side.
Get
out! Run off into the wood line.
Yeah.
That's exactly how that works.
It is too.
If you're not tied in, you are falling to your death.
Yes. Yep. We're hardwired for it. There's a certain brain set, and they kill as many of those as they can. And in Europe, they managed to kill a lot of them in the Second World War.
Yes.
And then they had the children who they indoctrinated and tried to breed that out. But the problem they're having is some of that is surfacing because it's hardwired genetics. In Europe, they're seeing some of it surfacing. In America, you're starting to see a lot of it surfacing.
Gen Z. Yeah.
A lot of the kids are going,
this is
bullshit.
Yeah, good.
This is bullshit. And they're pushing so hard.
Bullshit for the
Bolshevik. And they've pushed so hard. They've pushed so hard that a lot of the young males in America are starting to look for Kyle.
Yep.
Have you seen Kyle? Kyle's about this tall. Have you seen Kyle? Okay, that's what's going on. It's just a fact.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
It's not pretty. It is a fact. You just have to say facts. Sorry.
It is what it is.
Yep.
And look, okay. Now, at some point, especially if we can't turn this thing around,
yeah,
you're going to see a lot of people go, you know what, this is absolute horseshit. It's going to be the onesie twos in the beginning. Then you're going to get regions that are just ungovernable. And then those are going to morph together until you have a large majority of land, which is controlled by conservatives / Republicans. Mm-hmm. And the blue states are mainly run by up to 3 major cities.
Yep.
They'll get isolated.
Yep.
And then it's just it's basically one big game of siege warfare.
The cities will try to send raiding parties out, and initially they may be successful.
And usually that's only good for 50 miles or less.
Correct.
Because they're not going to have the expertise to do extended raids or supply lines.
Those third world countries that I went to, the typical range for raiding parties was no more than 10 miles, unless it was an organized entity like Abu Sayyaf in Southeast Asia. They would take boats and go island hopping, but they had a plan. They were doing something, as opposed to just opportunistic raiders.
Because most people don't seem to understand. On foot, 50 miles is a 2-day walk out and a 2-day walk back.
Yes. Correct.
Without like cars and shit. That's a huge muscle movement.
And once the main roads are cut, those geographic barriers like big fucking fields, hills,
rivers,
trees, rivers, that sort of thing. You don't think a field would be an obstacle until
you have to cross.
Cross a field under fire.
Under fire.
And there's also, if that field is big enough, it will feel like it goes on forever.
Yeah, I've experienced that.
It will feel like it becomes a psychological barrier. Can you walk across it? Of course you can. Of course you can walk across just about anything. But in your head, it'll go, it's too far. I can't do that.
Especially if you're a civilian.
Yes. And you have no context at all for anything like that.
Correct.
One of us, I'm going across that field. He ain't stopping me. And I'm going to go across it in the middle of the night. I'm going to crawl the last distance so that you can't see my ass.
I remember in basic training when they said, by the time you leave here, when you're done with AIT,
1,200 miles,
you will be able to walk 12 miles full gear, 3 hours or less. I was just like, what?
That's not happening, man.
Never gonna happen. And then I got there and it was cake.
Yeah.
It was nothing.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.